Welcome to Keys Job Center's e-learning video. Today I'm going to coach you on acing the interview. It is my hope to help you learn 4 things today. The first is to understand the purpose of the interview. The second is to learn techniques to manage your interview anxiety. The third is to help you identify your strengths and skills. And lastly, to help you practice some questions so you can answer it with confidence. What exactly is an interview? In the media, it seems to be portrayed as an interrogation, but an interview is simply a conversation between you and a representative of an employer to determine whether you are suitable for the job and for you to determine if the job is suitable for you. What is the purpose of an interview? It is a two-way street. It allows the hiring manager to evaluate your qualifications. It helps the both of you determine whether or not there is a fit. It allows you to assess whether or not the position fit into your career plan. And it gives you an opportunity to see if you can do the job or if you even want to. There are basically 6 types of interviews. The first one is a standard interview. This is something that we're familiar with, which is a one-on-one interview. The second is a panel interview, where there are 2 or more representatives from the organization interviewing you. The third one, which is becoming more and more common, is the group interview. This is especially true in customer service jobs, where you're given a task along with the other applicants and they want to see how you function as a team. The fourth one is a technical interview, where they're really testing skills. This is really true for administrative or engineering jobs where you're given a task to do. The fifth one is a stress interview. This is very common with law enforcement, and you're really put in a position where you're under pressure to answer questions. The last one is a telephone or webcam interview. This is usually done when the employer is not able to meet you face to face. Treat it like a regular interview. I wanted to make a special note on webcam interviews because this is becoming more common these days. So here's some tips to help you with this. Prepare like you're having a face-to-face interview. Do not rely on crutches like having answers written to questions nearby, because if you lose that piece of paper, you're going to be caught off guard and you might be stressed. The second is to make sure you're comfortable with the technology. Make sure your microphone's working and your video camera is working. Find out from the employer what software they're using, whether it be GoToMeeting or Zoom, and make sure you know how to use the software. Be in a private area and let household members know that you're not to be disturbed. The last thing you want is to have somebody barge into your office asking you when dinner is going to be ready. Another point is to adjust your lighting. The brighter the better. This is going to make you look better on camera. Check your backdrop and make sure it is professional and neat. Make eye contact with the camera. This is something that we're going to need to practice because we're so used to looking at people's eyes. Well, when you're doing a webcam interview, you're not able to, so the camera is the other person's eyes. Watch your body language. Make sure you're sitting up straight and that your posture is good. And dress appropriately. Be professional in your appearance, and a trick is to really wear bright and solid colors. And finally, stay calm and be yourself. I have helped a lot of people prepare for interviews. Most of them tell me nerves get the better of them, and it affects their ability to answer questions. Here are some techniques to help you manage your interview anxiety. A few things you can do before the interview. The first thing is just to simply reframe the interview. As I mentioned before, it is a conversation between you and the interviewer. For whatever reason, the word interview has been synonymous with interrogation, and that is furthest from the truth. If the word interview is the problem, change it. Call it a meeting or an appointment. Another thing you can do is just to simply reduce your stressors. Reduce the amount of caffeine you're taking, or get a good night's sleep, or go get some exercise. The third thing you can do is do your research. Know everything you need to know about the potential employer. The fourth thing is just to be prepared. Practice answering questions. Prepare questions for the employer so you can increase your comfort. The fifth thing you can do is just to simply take deep breaths. This will help you become in a relaxed state. The last thing you can do before an interview is just to visualize the interview and see that you are successful. Here are some techniques for during the interview. The one thing you can do is interview the interviewer. Remember what I said earlier, it is an opportunity for you to determine whether or not you want to work at this particular organization. By asking questions, it puts the ball back in your court. Another thing you can do is focus on an object, whether it is the interviewer's face or an object just behind the person. It will help you become present. And studies have shown that this automatically helps you calm your nerves. The last thing you can do during the interview is really just to take your time. The most important thing you can do before an interview is to be prepared. Confirm the location of the interview. A lot of businesses now have satellite offices, and some are even hosting interviews at remote locations like hotels and other facilities. Find out what type of interview it will be so you're not caught off guard. Research and anticipate what questions will be asked. Here's where you can speak with a Acing employment specialist and get some advice. Do your research on the employer and make sure you prepare some questions to ask them. Practice answering the potential interview questions. Decide on what you're going to be wearing in advance, put it aside, and make sure it is comfortable. Print an extra copy of your resume, cover letter, references, or any materials that you will need for the interview. Review what you have to offer the employer, specifically your strengths. Visualize a successful interview. And if you need help, absolutely speak with a Acing employment specialist. Here is an exercise to help you identify your strengths. On the left-hand side, you will see two lists, transferable skills and personal qualities. Go through each skill or quality and give yourself a rating, 1 being not a strength and 5 being your highest strength. On the right-hand side, make a note of the top 5 skills and your top 5 qualities. And under it, write down a couple of examples. The examples will help you give a more complete answer when answering interview questions. Let me give you an idea of how this works. Let's say I identify customer service as one of my greatest strengths. An example might be when I worked in retail, I was constantly awarded the Employee of the Month for having the highest sales and the best customer service. This will help you formulate answers to behavioral questions and direct questions in an interview. Here are some pro tips to help you answer interview questions effectively. Consider the employer's question. Why are they asking it? What do they want to know about you? Employers essentially want to know two things. One is, can you do the job? And the second is, do you fit into the organization? Make sure you understand the question, and if you don't, clarify or ask them to reframe it or to reword it. Sell yourself by giving facts. Remember the last slide when I said I was good in customer service. The example I gave about constantly receiving the Employee of the Month award for being good in customer service and sales is going to help me market myself, and these are just facts. Provide a concise and complete response. Don't just say you're good at something. Tell them why you're good at it and give an example. Answer behavioral questions by using the PAR formula, which is problem, action, and result. Respond positively to questions and avoid using negative words like hate, I don't want, I refuse, and absolutely never criticize your past employer. Show interest and enthusiasm and not desperation. And don't interrupt the interviewer. Take your time with the answers, and most importantly, be honest. In the next 4 slides, I'm going to go through how you answer common interview questions. Because there are hundreds of questions an employer can ask, we're not able to go through all of them in this video. To get more help, contact a Acing employment specialist. The first question an employer likes to ask is, tell me about yourself. It is a common question, is generally the first question. The employer wants to get a sense of what you can bring to the organization. They are looking at your qualifications, experiences, and skills. They might also be wanting you to give information about yourself that employers cannot legally ask. Under human rights laws, the employer cannot ask you questions pertaining to your age, sex, sexual orientation, marital status, family status, whether you have a disability, or whether or not you have a criminal record. But if you willingly divulge the information, then that is okay. Unfortunately, an employer may make a decision based on what you've said. If you let them know, as an example, you're a single parent and you have 6 school-age kids at home to take care of, they might make the assumption that you're going to take a lot of time off when your children are sick, which might ultimately affect your work. So the best way to answer this question is simply to give 3 to 5 points about your skills, knowledge, abilities, or experiences that fit the position. Stick to work-related reasons and avoid at all costs giving any personal information. A second question employers like to ask is, why should we hire you? They want to know why you're the best candidate for the job, and more importantly, whether or not you have the confidence to do the job. The fit is very important with this question. Give 3 to 5 points about your skills, knowledge, abilities, or experiences that align perfectly to this position and what they're looking for. Another question employers like to ask is, what are your strengths? They want to know the attributes that qualifies you for the job. Refer to the exercise and speak to the strengths the employer is looking for. And remember to give an example or a fact that highlights why that attribute is indeed a strength. Another question employers like to ask is, what is your greatest weakness? They want to see if you are honest and self-aware, and whether or not you have done anything to address your weakness, essentially turning your weakness into a strength. So with this question, list one weakness and how you have worked to improve on it, turning it into a strength. Here's an example. One of my greatest weaknesses is that I am impatient, and I get frustrated when colleagues don't do what they're supposed to do. I've come to appreciate that everybody works differently and they don't often adhere to my needs. This realization has allowed me to become more supportive. Knowing what some of the challenges are with my colleagues, I'm able to coach them, which is one of my strengths. The fifth question that is commonly asked is, why do you want to work here? For a lot of applicants, the reality is pay or perhaps benefits, but the employer does not want to hear that. They want to know that you have done some research about them and also how your skills and attributes align with what they're looking for. So with this question, it is important to speak to something that you've learned about the organization and how that relates to you. A group of questions that are being asked more and more are behavioral questions. The employer wants to know how you handled problems or situations in the past and what you would do in a certain situation. The logic behind this interview tactic is that your behavior in the past reflects and predicts how you will behave in the future. The best way to answer the question is to use the acronym PAR. P stands for the problem, the situation, or the issue, A, your actions in resolving it, and R, what the results were. Let me give you an example. A common question in customer service is, tell me a time when you demonstrated excellent customer service. I would first explain the problem. For example, a customer came into the store today and had put a product on hold. It wasn't available, somebody had sold it, and he was very upset. The actions I took to resolve it. I walked him to the side and listened to him vent, and then afterwards I offered the following solution. I called all the stores and found one. I had it shipped to his home and offered him a 10% discount. The result was he was happy with the solution and continued to come back to the store to shop. The last group of questions are what I call odd questions. There are no right or wrong answer, and it really is a glimpse into your personality and how you think. For example, a contact of mine at Procter & Gamble used to ask applicants, if you have 2 steaks in front of you, what would you do? There are many possible answers. One can be, I would just leave it alone. Another can be, I would pick it up and start drumming with it. A third one could be, I would just throw it away. The point is, don't overthink these questions if asked. There are no right or wrong answers. Just do your best. Here are some tips to help you perform on the day of the interview. Dress to impress. The rule of thumb is to wear something a little bit more formal than the employers would commonly wear. So for example, if it is a professional environment and employees wear suits, then you should be dressing businesslike. If it is a casual environment where employees wear jeans and t-shirts, you might want to dress it up a little bit by wearing khakis and perhaps a button-down shirt. Make sure your clothes are cleaned, it doesn't smell, and tidy. Also, you don't wear a lot of scents. Cologne for men and perfume for women. Less is always more. Arrive at the interview location ahead of time. Give yourself 15 minutes extra. Be polite with everyone you meet. The person you cut off in the parking lot could very well be the person interviewing you. Bring extra copies of your resume and references. Don't sit unless the interviewer asks you to. And be aware of your body language. Sit up straight, don't fidget, and ensure you have good posture. Make regular eye contact with the interviewer. Be relaxed, smile, and be confident. And talked about earlier, remember to complete your answers and give examples. Also, make sure you ask questions. That really shows your interest and enthusiasm. Make sure you follow up after the interview. At the end of the interview, ask the interviewer, what is the next step? How quickly do you expect to make a decision? If you have their contact information, send them a thank you note. Probably an email would work best. Keep the note simple. In a concise way, perhaps just highlight again why you would be the best candidate for that job. And if you don't get the job, see if you can get some feedback. If you get the job, congratulations. If you need some extra help, call Keys Job Center at 613-546-5559. Our professional employment advisors will be more than happy to set up a mock interview or further coach you on becoming more successful in the interview process.